Financially raw, real, authentic wisdom with Lourens Oberholzer from Retire Rich and Happy.
So let's talk about the money mistakes people make, because the more we are different, the more we are the same. We tend to do the same things over and over. So by finding out what other people do, we can also look at ourselves and see how many of those mistakes we make. So we're going to jump back and forth because I've got a few points and you've got a few points. But I think let you start with one of your points and then I'll chime in as we go along. So what mistakes do people make?
Well, I'm going to start off first off with actually the most simple one. And I think this is the one everyone makes, no matter how keen you are and how good you are when it comes to creating a balance sheet or something to follow by every single month. But the first point is excessive and frivolous spending. And there's a quote that says, great fortunes are often lost $1 at a time, and in our instance, most probably R1 at a time.
Yes.
And it's so true, you know. It's not the big things. Everybody thinks, oh, well, it's the car that I've bought, or it's the house that I've bought, or that's the thing that's given me a step back in life. But it's the small things. It's the everyday things.
Yeah.
And I think I said this the first time that I was here. It's like I gave that example of a person buying the coffee. Those little coffees start adding up.
Yeah.
You know, it's one. It starts off at one coffee from wherever. Could be Wimpy, it could be McDonald's, it could be wherever. Yeah. Seattle, I think that's the big one.
Yes.
Starts off at one coffee, and then it becomes two, then it becomes three, and that you're averaging around about $75, $100 a day.
Yeah.
500 Rand a week. What's
Very
that? 2,000 Rand a month. What can you do with $2,000?
Yeah.
Well, you can buy a retirement. You can buy a car. There we go. So yes, excessive and frivolous spending.
So here's the thing that one of the things that we teach people as well is, firstly, give every rand a job, because that's frivolous spending. Is you're spending because you're not planning ahead. You don't give every rand a job. And the other thing we tend to say is that it's most of the time it's not an income problem. It's a financial management and expense problem.
That's it.
People tend to try and fix their financial woes by adding more income first. So that's always where they go. They never go and say, well, maybe I should take more control of my finances. They start by saying, well, if I can only earn more, this damn company is not paying me what I'm worth. Or if I can start a part-time business, then I can earn some more money. Instead of first going and looking at what you're doing with the money that you are earning. Because if you don't take control of that, you can add as much money as you like. If you can't get out on 15,000 Rand a month, you're sure as hell's not going to get out on 150,000 Rand a month, because the same problem will follow you.
And if I can add to that, you mustn't be looking at what you are spending your money on. You will justify it every single time.
Yes.
You will justify the fact that you've got to go and buy that chocolate every single day or that coffee every single day. You will justify it. Get somebody else. Again, the coach, yes, I'm going to say the coach will definitely help you with that, because they bring that to the fore. They add up those small little amounts, and that's what creates the big amount. So don't you do it. Get somebody else to check it out.
It's that sometimes you're so stuck in it, you can't see the wood from the trees.
100%.
Because you're so stuck in the situation that you can't remove yourself from the situation you're in. And the moment you have somebody that gives you the awareness, and we say this a lot, 80% of the battle is awareness. If you start becoming aware of what you're doing with your money, then suddenly 80% of the battle is won, because you can make different decisions if you are aware of the decisions that you're making. Also say, when you look at budgeting, and we'll probably talk a little bit more about budgeting as well, but budgeting is 80% looking backwards and only 20% looking forward. And the problem is, we think that budgeting is all a predictor of the future. We go and we say, listen, this month, this is what I'm going to do with my money. And then we get to the 20th and we've gone way off track. And we never go back and say why. We go, okay, it wasn't a great month, but this month we're going to do this and this and this. Instead of first saying, let's look backwards first and see, what did I do that got me in the situation that I'm in? And then start planning, but how do I fix that moving forward? If you don't know what you did wrong, you can't fix it. You're just going to keep doing it. And we tend to, next month or next year. I mean, we're going up to January now. How many New Year's resolutions are going to be? This year, I'm going to get rid of my debt. I'm going to take better control of my money. I'm not going to overspend. But if you don't look backwards and see what you've done, you can't plan forwards.
I think if there was an investment scheme where a person could put money in on how many people fail on their New Year's resolutions, I'd be a multimillionaire today.
We must create, these sports betting sites.
Yes.
We create a betting business that bets on people's New Year's resolutions.
We can make money.
We look at Jock and we say his New Year's resolution is to gain 10 kilograms of muscle this year, and then we bet he's got 7-1 odds against.
Let's try it.
Yes, we'll make money. So if you're interested in that, let us know. We need some investors.
100%.
Okay, what's next on the list?
Okay, well, number 2, and I think it's a carry on from number 1, it's never ending payments. Being someone that's working with people and creating budgets, you've got these guys that have got these music, and some of them are actually creating money off it, and I can understand that, but the question is always asked, so when last did you use it? When last has this debit order is coming off every single month? What is it for? What are you using it for? When last have you used it? And most people turn around and say, I'm going to be using this, or I'm going to be using that. And yes, it's a small amount, 60, 70, 80 bucks. So it doesn't seem like a big thing. But again, we go back to that great fortunes are offering last $1 at a time. So if it's a never ending payment that's just coming off and you're not using it, it's not benefiting you, why have it?
Like gym memberships.
They start off in the beginning. Again, there's your New Year's resolution. I'm going to lose X amount of weight. I'm going into the gym. I'm doing the whole discovery points thing. And at the end of the day, by March, they've been there once for the month. By July, they haven't seen it because it's too cold. At the end of the year, they've put on 5 kilograms. I mean, that's just how it goes.
And they've kept paying the gym membership.
I
mean, if you look at, and this is just one of them, but gyms, the gyms make most of their money from people who never attend gym. The people who actually go to gym every single day cost the gym more than what they're making from them. Yes. It's the guys who never go that they make all their money from. So don't be one of those guys. Also, I call it the snowball effect. Exactly what you're saying. It's $60. Yeah, that's not too much. And then, this is only 75, and this is only 50. And before you know it, you put all of that together, and we see that when we do the strategic expense planning with people, how quickly a few small changes make up 3, 4, 5, 6,000 rand a month. And you move a person from a minus to a positive very quickly by small things. We're not talking about. And that's the big thing that people are afraid of when you start looking at their budgeting and things. People are so afraid. The coach, you will go in and tell them what they're not allowed to do this and not allowed to do that, especially the smokers. They're all afraid we're going to sit down and tell them, you have to stop smoking. And that's not what we do.
But that's not a bad thing, though. But okay, we won't go down that road.
But we don't go in and tell you what you need to do. We make you aware. We show you the potential, and you make your own choices. Yes. It's all about priorities. If that is your priority, then you're going to have to cut on something else, and you're going to make something else a lower priority than that. And that's important. And that's where, again, having a coach, having somebody outside of your situation. It's not ideal to have your wife as your partner in the coaching sense. Because you and your wife is emotionally invested in this situation, where if you have a third party who has no dog in the fight, it's so much easier to get an objective view on it. Okay, what else have we got?
Well, living on borrowed money. I think that is one of the big things. I mean, credit cards, there we go. I mean, just credit cards alone. I mean, it's not your money. And at the end of the day, you're going to be paying somebody else huge interest rates. And you're wondering why you just can't get out of this hole that you're in, but you're constantly living on borrowed money. But you also mentioned it, you said before we started, the company doesn't pay me enough. I'm not earning enough. It's not this, it's not that. It's always somebody else, but yet you keep on creating more debt. And also, I mean, your savings that you're putting money away on cannot compensate compared to the amount of interest that you pay on a credit card or a personal loan or whatever. And so try and get rid of those as quick as possible because they're just draining you.
Yeah, there's a reason why the student level goal, and that's the first goal we work with when we start working with a person, is move your zero back to zero. Because how many people have you seen that when you talk to them and you ask them, do they have any debt? They say, no, I don't have any debt. Then you sit with them and they are living on their credit card, but they tell themselves it's okay because every month they finish, they get their credit card to zero again.
Or they're back in the green, but just
debt. So I don't have any debt. Well, you still have debt because you're living on the wrong side of your zero. You're not living on the right side of your zero. And that's the thing. Like you said earlier, it's these small things. That's the same way you get into debt as well. It very seldom happens that people get into 200, 300,000 rands worth of unsecured debt one shot at a time. It does happen with people with massive medical bills or things like that. But more often than not, I would say probably 95% of the time, it is these small, it's 1,000 rand here that you go a little bit worse in. And then another 2, and then another 500, and then another 1,000. And before you know it, you're sitting at 30, 40, 50, and then it just starts snowballing and getting bigger and bigger. And before you know, you're sitting with 200,000 rands worth of unsecured and credit card debt.
And also with that, I think once a person gets there, they want to blind themselves off to it. They don't want to think about it. It's something that I'll think about later, And all you need to do is just create a bit of a plan. Just create a bit of a pathway that you're walking on to make sure, okay, this is going to come down X amount per month. And you can get out of that debt much quicker than what you actually think. Yeah. But because they just put it back and they think, okay, I'll think about it later. And that's when it grows. And then they look one day and they think, gee whiz, I can't do anything about it.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. And that's generally when they almost about to retire, 55, 60. And then theoretically, it is almost, I'm not saying that it's out of control and you can never sort it out. No, I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is it has become such a big ball and chain on you now. It's a headache. It's a stressful situation. Whereas if you've just got a plan with a coach sitting behind you that's prepared to help and give you the time and the direction to move into, you can sort it out. Yeah. So don't leave it.
And that's the thing. So people already can't save enough for retirement. Then they get to retirement, then they have to take a big chunk of that money to first pay off all these personal loans and credit cards. And they sort of think that it will be okay because at retirement I am getting a big chunk of money and then I'll sort it out. But people can already not save enough money. We've got a comment here from Frikkie. He says a big, with a lot of G's, mistake people make this time of the year is they spend their end of December salary in mid-December and then battle in January, and then January becomes a long month. Especially because most people get their salaries in December around the 15th to the 18th, and then a month and a half. And then they spend everything on Christmas. Day after Christmas comes, there's nothing. They're in credit cards, and then they still have a whole month to live.
And there we go, living on borrowed money.
Yeah, exactly. And that's very, very true, Frikkie. It's so important to plan your month out until end of January and not live on your credit card, because that puts you back the whole year. Yeah. Because you think you'll catch it up throughout the 2022, and then by the time you're halfway there, you're back into December, and then you get even more into debt. We've got a message from Warren. He says, I think one of the most not you, Warren, other Warren. I think one of the most empowering things I've been able to do is to differentiate between a need and a want. Once I have identified it as a want, I can then reassure myself that I really do not need whatever it is, and I can live without it. It gets easier with time, and I have also started figuring out creative ways to raise the capital I need in order to finance some of those wants. Example is that I really want to purchase a new bicycle. So I have stopped smoking and drinking in order to redirect those savings towards a good new Black Friday or second-hand mountain bike. Yeah, so it's about priorities. We spoke about it earlier. It's not us telling people you can't do this or you should stop doing that. It's about making people aware to look at those priorities. And once you become aware and then you take control, we live in a society that is completely just floating around. We don't take control. We don't take responsibility for our decisions. And the awareness creates responsibility. Now you are in control. And it's actually a fantastic feeling to know that I'm choosing this. It's not I can't do this and I can't do that. I'm actually choosing what to do and what not to do. It's an amazing, powerful place to be.
Yeah, I think, but in Warren saying that, okay, so he's reducing, buying the smokes and buying other little knicky-knacks, as in having a goal to purchase a bicycle is actually quite important, because it doesn't necessarily have to just be a bicycle, which, being a cyclist myself, well done, Warren, I'm in your corner. But yes, it's buying anything new. Buying a vehicle, or buying a house, or anything like that. You've changed your priorities from the knicky-knacks things, and you're putting money away to purchase this. But we also mustn't forget that we should be doing that on a monthly basis, reaching our retirement, or as in the coaching, looking at creating income generating assets, or looking at creating alternatives to create multiple streams of income. So as soon as that goal is in place and your mind is set, then your frivolous spending will come down, because immediately you want that. But if your goal is to get a new pair of shoes every single month, or a new watch, or a new whatever the case may be, whatever hobby you are in, if that's a new item every single month, well, then you're going to struggle to say, well, I'm looking at investing, because investing takes a longer time. So people want that immediate sense of achievement. And when it comes to investing and building a retirement, it takes that much longer. So then they tend to veer off the path.
Yeah, that's such an important point you're making there, is the difference between delayed gratification and immediate gratification. And that's something that is probably one of the biggest obstacles I see when we coach students, is to get them to start thinking in a delayed gratification way instead of an immediate gratification. Because they come in, the first month there's a lot of things happening, a lot of success. They have positive cash flow available, they start paying off debt, and then for a couple of months they're working on getting rid of debt, and it's the same thing. And then very quickly you get this comment of, but why am I doing the coaching? Why am I paying for the coaching if I'm doing the same thing every month? Yes. Well, it's delayed gratification. We're still working towards, but it takes time. It's not buying the pair of shoes. It is getting rid of your debt, and sometimes that takes 12 months to get rid of the debt.
You've got rid of the debt. Okay. Now you're sitting at, you've moved up from a got rid of your debt, you've moved up to an undergraduate, and now you're moving towards creating a reserve account or a safety net, and that also takes time. But now it's tedious. There's no bright spots, there's no fireworks.
Glamorous.
No, it's nothing at all. And then a person, like you say, starts getting bored. Or even in moving up from there, moving into a graduate level, where you're starting to say, okay, so this is what I'm going to put away to invest in my first income generating asset. So that step is great. Wow, the first 2-3 months, this is working out really nicely for me. And then again, the sparks start to disappear, it's not glamorous, and then they tend to start veering and start spending money on something else, because they have to spend money. This is the thing. We have to spend money.
Yeah, they want that immediate gratification of, I've done something.
Exactly. And yes, so maybe along the way, create these other smaller little goals, so that you can feel like you're achieving something. And then that'll make you feel a little bit better. But that's not my job, is to make you feel better. My job is to make sure that I am making you reach that investor level as quick as possible. That's my job, But so along the way, it's sometimes you need to just create a little bit of what's the right word now I'm thinking of? Just make you feel a little bit better.
Give you some gratification.
That's
it. The thing is, anything in life, even with you being a keen cyclist, with anything, there's some things that are boring and tedious. You look at rugby. You see them play the game on a Saturday, and Francois Steyn, he kicked that long penalty, and you see that, and it's like amazing. He was excited, everything was fantastic, everybody cheered him and everything. But we don't see the hours and hours and hours of doing the same kick over and over and over and over again. But you have to do that thing over and over and over and over again. Doesn't matter how boring it is, to get to the point where you can do it in the flashy way where everybody cheers you. And it's the same with cycling. It's the same with anything worthwhile that you want to achieve. You have to go through the boring, tedious, non-glamorous stuff to get to the glamorous stuff.
Exactly that.
And people want to have everything immediately, and that is a challenge. We've got Rachel. She says, going overboard on buy now and pay later purchases. This kind of shopping could result in a sneak attack on your bank account if you lose track of when those easy payments are due. And it's again that what we said about these small things build up very quickly. It's just 200 Rand. You can get this new dining room set for only 599 Rand a month. It's like, that's not too bad. And then it's another 499, another 299. And before you know it, that's 10,000 Rand a month gone.
I think also what people forget about is that emergency that comes out of nowhere. The Murphy's Law scenario. So yes, you've bought this new, Warren, I'm going to pick on you, you've bought this new bicycle, everything's great, your affordability is still excellent, we're fine, and then something happens. The vehicle goes over a pothole, you lose all 4 tires, or there's an emergency, you've got to take a dog to a vet, or something like that happens. And those are big ticket items that just come out of the blue. Now, if you don't have your emergency fund available, if you don't have a reserve account available, then you got to go to where? And that is your credit card. So now everything starts moving towards the credit card scenario, because when an emergency happens, it's never just one. It's the geyser bursts, something goes wrong with the car. Exactly. Or you have a dog for X amount of years, you've never paid a thing on it. Does this remind anything? And then something goes wrong and you've got a 20 grand bill. So it's those emergencies that we don't account for that puts us into the red. And then we struggle to get out of it with the other little emergencies that come by. And if you don't have someone helping you, just carrying you along the way, just creating a plan. That's all you need, just a plan, and you'll be fine. But
so that actually is two points that I've got on my list of money mistakes. So the first one is people not making sure they minimize their risk. That's so important. I meet so many people that don't have a medical aid. They don't have proper life cover. They don't have all of these risk mitigating products in place. And it's so important. But it's also important that when you do that, you do what you need. Not overspend because of bells and whistles and all of these kind of things. So it's important to have these things in place, because it's like a parachute. If you don't have that parachute the day you need it, you're probably never going to need it again. You can't then go as, that wasn't nice, I'll get one for next time. It's not going to be a next time. So you need to sort your risk out now. That's why that's also the foundation of the financial pyramid, the hierarchy of financial abundance, is minimize your risk management level. You have to put that in place. And the second one is people don't take the time to build a proper emergency fund, or we call it the reserve account, because it includes your capex expenses and your emergency fund. One of my sayings is, everybody wants to invest. Nobody wants to do the groundwork to be ready to invest, because again, the investing is the glamorous stuff. I can invest in Bitcoin and I can make all this money in Forex or whatever the case may be. But then the car breaks down, the dog gets a 20,000 Rand bill, those things happen, and then they're in trouble because they've never built a proper reserve account. And again, that is where we're getting to that phase where building that reserve account takes a few months, and it's not glamorous, and every month just money goes in it, and it's not getting 20,000 Rand percent, 20% worth of return on investment. So it's not exciting. And then people go, but I want to invest. What can I invest in? Well, you first invest in your financial security.
Yourself.
Yeah.
Invest in yourself first.
Exactly.
Make sure you are covered. I think, and that's also something that we talk about. Everybody says, so what is your biggest asset? And people immediately say, well, it's their house, or it's their business that they own, or the building that they own, whatever the case may be. And they are all wrong. They themselves, you are your biggest asset, because without you, everything else fails.
Yeah.
So make sure that is going well.
It's like that story that I always tell about the goose that lays the golden eggs. And for those of you who haven't heard it, I'm going to tell it again. So if you had a goose and that goose was laying golden eggs every morning, so every morning you got there was a gold egg, you could sell the egg for money, you could buy whatever you need. What would you insure if you had to insure something? Would you insure the eggs or would you insure the goose? And the normal answer is obviously the goose. I mean, why would you insure the eggs if the goose can just lay another egg tomorrow if that egg gets lost? But what do we do in our real life? We insure the eggs, we insure the house, the car, we make sure that those things are sorted out. And then when we get to life insurance, when we get to disability insurance, medical aid, people go, but just, do I have to spend that amount of money just on life cover? And I'm not even here to enjoy it if to get the payout. Well, you are the goose.
Yeah.
You are the biggest asset that you own. You have to insure yourself, because if it's not for you, nothing else happens. You are the person. And that's why step 1 of our 5 steps is invest in yourself. Because insuring or investing in the goose is also investing in education, investing in your risk management, investing in your financial security. All of those things are part of investing in yourself.
For sure.
Just very quickly, talking about unsecured debt, we talk a lot about that, is you need to understand the difference between unsecured debt and secured debt. So when we talk about getting rid of your debt, get rid of the unsecured debt. You said something very true a little bit earlier about the unsecured debt. So let's just quickly define what unsecured debt is. It is debt that is not secured by an asset. So if you look at your house, the bond on your house is a secure debt, because if you don't pay, the bank can come take the house and sell the house for the debt. So therefore your interest rate is much lower. If you look at a credit card, the interest rate is much higher on a credit card or a personal loan, because there's no asset underlying it. The bank can't come and take one thing to cover the debt. They have to do execution of goods. It's a whole process. So therefore their risk is higher, which means the interest rate is much higher. So you want to get rid of that unsecured debt. It is pointless to have money saved or invested into a retirement annuity or an endowment where you're getting like 6 or 7% when you're paying 18 to 27% on your personal loan and your unsecured debt like a credit card. First get rid of that and then take that money and invest it. Okay, so that is just a quick talk about unsecured debt. Okay, what else have you got on your list?
Okay, number 5 from my side is spending too much on your house. Having a bigger house is always great. Yes, it's nice. But I mean, if there's only 2 of you, why have a house that's got 3 or 4 bedrooms?
Yes.
And I think a lot of people think that, so we're going to buy this bigger house, and then when my parents come and stay over, or my friends come and stay over, whatever the case may be, we've got an extra room. Think of the fact of how many times will that happen?
Yeah.
To be paying for that extra room, for that extra capacity, and you're not actually using it. So rather just move up the scale slowly but surely. You can, if you're wanting to get to a bigger house, rather just start off smaller, something you can afford, because again, it's property. So on property is growing all the time, even if it's slow, and even in a bad market you might still be able to get out with a little bit more.
Yes.
So rather start off slower when it comes to purchasing a house, getting something small that's just what you can afford. Think of an affordability scenario first. Get the house, doll it up a little bit, take 1 or 2 years dolling it up, and then sell it, and then move up slowly instead of just jumping in, because remember, the cost of that house is there for generally 20 years.
Yeah.
So rather just do it that way.
And that comes into keeping up with the Joneses. We spoke about that from the car perspective as well, is trying to keep up with your friends, your family members. Oh, my cousin bought a new house and they now have this fantastic braai area and swimming pool, and now I want to compete with that. Guys, you are on your own race. The only person you're competing with is yourself, no one else. I always use the analogy. We compare ourselves to people that's running a completely different event. It's like we are running a 400-meter race, somebody else is running the 100 meters, and then we get upset because they get to the finish line before us. Don't get upset about what other people's journey is.
Yeah.
That's their journey. You're never going to be able to compete with anybody else. You just compete with your goals. What is it that you want to achieve?
And also, sorry, just to chip in there, I mean, just because that person's driving a much better vehicle than you, is in a bigger house than you, you don't know what's happening behind the scenes. You don't know what his credit scenario is, or lack of, and you don't know where he is from a financial point of view.
Yeah.
I can tell you there's so many people out there that look like everything's fine. Just look at Facebook. Yeah. Everybody's smiling, everybody's happy, but behind the scenes, it's not like that. And I can tell you now, their financial woes are most probably exactly the same. Yeah. So just be careful with that. Again, like you just
dangerous.
said, you're running your own race. Set in, make sure your goals are correct, and do it your own way. Because at the end of the day, you're going to be smiling.
Exactly. And it's like you see the top of the carpet and it's so clean, but the moment you lift that carpet, all the dirt has been shoved under that carpet, and you never see that dirt. But go and we lift that carpet when we work, and we see all the dirt under that carpet. So trust us when we say it's not all shiny and new when we start working with people. Okay, so yes, what else have you got?
Okay, well, I'm going to keep on with the topic of too much on a house because you can purchase a house that's within your budget, but then using the home equity as a piggy bank.
Yes.
I think a lot of people do that, and that's I'm going to put it in the same scenario as then using your credit card, because what you're doing is you're overexposing what the house is worth. The day comes that you want to sell that house, you're not going to get the money for it. And not just that, I mean, you're just creating a bigger hole for yourself. Yes, it's not immediate, and that's the problem, you know. So we just take this little bit here, and we're going to take that little bit there, and at the end of the day, we've got this hole that we're living in. So don't use it as a piggy bank. Yes, maybe use it as a safety net for something, because the amount that you're going to be using or drawing from it is less of an interest rate, but that doesn't mean go overboard. You know, a lot of people buy their car on their house and this on their house, and Warren, again with you, buy their bicycle on their house. Sorry, I'm picking on the bike thing.
Bicycle on the house.
On the house. Yes, exactly.
And if you do it on the house, it's not for free. Although it sounds like it's on the house, it's not for free.
So it's those little things, again, it's those small little things that at the end of the day start adding up.
And the thing is, people, we justify everything. I always say we're so good at bullshitting ourselves. And the thing is, we use the fact that the interest rate is so low on your house against other things to justify buying things on the house, because it sounds like logic, but it's about what you buy and how much you overspend on that. So now if you have to buy a car every 3 years and you keep doing it on your house, you're never going to pay off your house, which means that 20 years gets extended, and the interest rate, or the interest that you pay on it is just massive. So be careful on going back into your bond the whole time and just never getting to the point where you have your house paid off, because again, your house is not an asset. Your primary residence is not an asset. Your primary residence is a liability. It is something where it costs you money. An asset is only an asset if it makes you money, not if it costs you money. I have a comment here from Warren. He says, amazing how many people go broke by saving money. And the way women save money is by coming to you and saying, I saved 500 Rand on this dress because it was on special. By spending 3,000 Rand, I saved 500. That's not saving money at all.
Another mistake people make, just talking on the saving thing, is they'll travel from one shopping center to the next, getting the savings that they can, or on these little items that are at 20% off or 30% off, but we're not realizing the amount of mileage they put in, fuel, paying the car guard. all these little things. I mean, a perfect example is, well, we use it now, is shopping with the Checkers delivery. Yes, there's a cost involved, but it's one cost. I don't have to get in my car. I don't have to waste time.
Yeah.
I don't have to pay the car guard. And it's quick. It's within an hour. And also what's nice about it, I'm not adding chocolates and things. I'm only purchasing the items that I need. So the frivolous spending comes down on that.
Because you don't have the aisle to walk through.
Exactly.
And see. You
grab
just
the chips,
search
grab
what
the
you
chocolate.
Want. Yeah.
100%.
Does make
So
a big
it
difference.
Does help.
And that's one of the things we say with this Black Friday coming up is if you do want to do shopping, do it online.
Yeah.
Don't go into the shops. Don't drive from the one shop to the other shop when you do your Black Friday shopping.
And also research it.
Yes. So if on one of our videos on YouTube, we have had a discussion about how not to overspend over the festive season. And in that video, I talk about Black Friday and some tips. So really go and watch that video as well. It really will help. Okay, what else have we got?
Living paycheck to paycheck. Okay, now living paycheck to paycheck, I guess you got to put it in brackets, because what are you doing with your money?
Yeah.
Let's look at it that way. If your money is going towards a reserve account, if it's going towards investments, if it's going towards creating multiple streams of income, then living paycheck to paycheck is not a bad idea. Well, everything's great, everything's covered. But when you're living paycheck to paycheck and it's only on lifestyle, so everything is going out, cigarettes, this, that, the nicky knacks of life, and there is no savings.
Yes.
There is no building a reserve account. There is no money going towards investments. Well, then you are digging an extremely big hole for yourself. And that's when people go and they start realizing, well, I'm only in the red by $500 this month. Next month, I'm only extra $200, an extra 300 Rand. And then it's all, I can pay that back. It's not a problem.
Yeah, exactly.
But then you wipe the you-know-what out of your eyes, and before you know, you're sitting with a 200,000, 300,000 deficit, because that's how it happens.
Quickly.
And it's people generally look at the scenario when they reach around about the age of 40, 45, 50. They start really looking at where their money is going.
Yeah.
And that's when they realize, hells bells, I'm missing something here. I haven't done what I'm supposed to be doing. Fixing it there and then is still okay. You can still do it, but just imagine if you just had a look at it a little bit earlier, you would not be in that scenario.
Exactly. And one of the things I had on my list as well is only relying on one source of income. Guys, there's a myth that we've been taught, and that myth says as long as you save enough of your salary every month, you will be able to retire comfortably.
No.
Never going to happen. You have to create what we call MSI, multiple sources of income. But you have to be ready to create multiple sources of income. That's why we started by saying, take control of your expenses. Make sure you know where your money is going, all of those kind of things. Because once you have created multiple sources of income, that income can be defined as freedom income. We call it freedom income, and that can be used to work for you instead of you working for money.
Yeah.
I think that is one of the most overused cliches that nobody knows how to do, is that you have to have money work for you. Stop working for money.
Yeah.
And then people go, okay, but how do I do that?
Yeah.
The way you do it is by taking control of the money that you're earning and your expenses, and then adding extra money to it and making that money work for you. Taking that money, we call it, defining it as freedom income, and then moving that money into income generating assets to create multiple sources of income. You're only going to retire if you have income coming from different sources. Don't think you'll build one retirement fund, invest it, and have enough money for the rest of your life. Never ever going to happen. Okay, guys, we haven't even gotten to solutions. So we're definitely going to have a part 2 of this discussion. We'll do that next week. So please join us again next week at 10 o'clock. An hour goes by so quickly when we start discussing these interesting topics. So please join us again next week. Thank you for joining us. Again, Warren, if you just want to give the listeners your contact details, if anybody wants to chat to you about getting a coach, getting somebody to help and guide them, where can they get hold of you?
Okay, so my email address is warren@rrh.life. And my cell number is 082 551 8804. And believe me, I think there's a lot of people out there that think, we can look at that next month or next year.
Yeah.
It really, really helps, and it just creates a different mindset, and I think that's the big thing.
Yeah, the best time to start was 10 years ago.
100%.
The second best time to start is right now.
Yeah.
Not next year, not in January. Start right now.
And also, don't wait for your retirement. And I think just another quick thing, retirement is not about age. You know, everybody talks about retirement, and your immediate thought is 65, 60, 65, 70. That's when people think retirement is, and it's got nothing to do with that. It's got to do with money. If you have enough money and you don't, and that money comes in from from multiple sources, and you don't theoretically have to work for that money, you are retired.
Right.
So get that going and get it in place as quick as possible, and you're retired.
Yeah. Hi guys, Lourens here. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you found it informative and you got some benefit out of it. Please add in the comments any questions you might have or any other topics that you would like me to talk about. Please subscribe to our channel, hit the bell button so that you can get notified of any new videos that we post so you don't miss anything. Thanks guys, see you around.